Are you ready for rapid fire?
I'm always ready, baby. Let's go. Little game day rapid fire.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. Yeah. So let's get to the rivalry conversation. Stanford is one of Notre Dame's rivalry games. How would you rank Notre Dame's list of top 5 all-time rivals? What would your list look like?
Top 5. Okay. USC.
I concur with that.
Michigan.
I was wondering if you would even include them there because of your hatred for Michigan, but I agree as well. I mean, you've got it because we're talking all-time rivals. So USC and Michigan, we're both lockstep on those.
Okay. Let's see here.
Do we include Navy? Like they play them every year. Like do we consider that one of their top rivals?
That's tough, man. Like
this is my biggest question really is where Navy fits in.
I consider them an awesome little brother, but I don't necessarily consider them a rival. You know, every once in a while. I mean,
once they start winning, once they won a few games, it obviously changed things.
You know, every once in a while, little brother gets the best of big brother, but for the majority of the time, that big brother dominates little brother. And I think that kind of describes what Navy is, right? I mean,
do you consider Navy more of a rivalry than Stanford?
Yes.
That didn't take you long to spit that out.
Yeah, I would come up with Purdue, Michigan State,
and Boston College.
Boston College, I think that's a good one. Honestly, I would come up with all of those before I would come to Stanford. Stanford is the most fabricated rivalry I think that exists on Notre Dame's schedule because they wanted to get out to California. So it's like, We'll play you just like we play USC.
We used you, and now we're going to consider you a rival. We're going to keep you on so we can consider you a rival.
Exactly. Like we'll make you a rival. We'll even get a trophy.
Yeah.
If you can make sure that we're out there.
I didn't realize they've been playing for the Legends Trophy since 1989. Like
I didn't realize that either.
And that was like the third. I think they've been playing every year. Well, every year since, with the exception of COVID, since '87. But in '89, the third year they started playing, they came up with this Legends.
They came up with the trophy. See, I'd say fabricated. Fabricated.
Like, how do you make it? How do you start playing for a trophy the third year you're playing against the team?
Weak.
It just, like you said, it feels like Notre Dame just buttered these guys up.
Yes.
Like, come on, let's keep playing. We'll even come up with a trophy for this thing.
It's the least. Like, I don't even know what all the trophies are for Notre Dame, to be perfectly honest. But of all of them, this is by far the bottom of the list for me. It's the bottom. I know they've got one for Michigan State. I think they've got one for Purdue. They got one for Boston College. They've got one for USC.
They've got one for Navy.
They've got – okay. I don't think I even realized that, to be perfectly honest with you. But, yeah, Stanford's at the bottom of the list. I'm sorry. They always will be. And I have advocated, and so have you, for a long time, get this off the schedule. Just put them in. If they're part of the ACC, Notre Dame did them a solid by getting them pulled into the ACC. Awesome, fine. I have no problem with that. Put them on the ACC rotation. That's where I'm at with Stanford.
I think so too. It is not important to, the question is, does Notre Dame still want to get to California every other year? And now, I saw this on a thread, and we've talked about this before, but as of right now, Notre Dame and Stanford both only have, like if you look at that website that's got all the future schedules, Notre Dame and Stanford still only have 11 games showing on their schedule next year.
Yeah.
Back, I think it was in July, Bernard Muir, their athletic director, did an interview on I think it's called the Tree podcast. It's like their, in-house podcast. And he said that things were pointing toward the series was going to be renewed, but they just hadn't finalized things yet. But, because I saw some speculations on our Champions Lounge about, well, who's Notre Dame going to put on the schedule next year since Stanford's not going to be there? I don't think from what I have heard, it's not final that Stanford is not going to be there next year. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But, you and I have talked before, like you've got Cal as part of this ACC deal now as well. Why not just go 2-2? So like 1 year you're going to Stanford, next year you go to Cal, and then 2 years after that you go to Stanford, and you just rotate through since both of those teams are on there now. I don't think you need to keep playing Stanford all the time.
No, you absolutely do not need to keep playing Stanford. I don't like, okay, getting to California, I just don't feel like is as big of a deal as it used to be, especially Northern California.
Right.
Like, how many guys are you really pulling from Northern California?
It's the trip to Los Angeles that means
Yeah.
a heck of a lot more than
Yes.
up there by the bay. Yeah.
100% agree. I just getting to the state. Like, this isn't 1937 where they take a train all the way out to California, and while they're out there, they might as well recruit. You got a private jet. You can go wherever you want, whenever you want. Like, I'm sorry. It's just no.
I mean,
Get away from it.
we've kind of gone down this road anyway, but the question was going to be, it would be blank if Notre Dame never plays Stanford again.
Totally fine by me.
It would be no skin off my back, baby. That's
No,
right.
it really wouldn't, man. It really wouldn't. I will say this. I know that Notre Dame tries to, play like-minded universities, and I don't have a problem with that.
And that's part of what I think is keeping it on here, and why Jack Swarbrick obviously pushed, was because you've got two high-end academic institutions, and he didn't want to see them, figuratively fall off into the ocean when the Pac-12 dissolved.
And I have no problem with that. And I wouldn't have a problem with them playing Stanford every now and again. I just don't think it should be annually. You know what I mean? I respect the fact that Notre Dame wants to play high academic institutions. Okay, cool. I don't have a problem with that. If you want to do that once, maybe twice a year, fine. You get the Northwestern on there. You get Stanford on there. You get Cal on there. But to your point, you can flip-flop Cal and Stanford. That's fine too. Those are both high academic, universities. So it just doesn't have to be Stanford every single year.
No, I mean, shouldn't it be just as much a priority to get to Texas?
Yeah. Right.
You've got SMU as part of this new ACC as well. Like, it's just, I think that there are more options. Like, you don't have to keep it. And I think that probably part of what's holding up the renewal of this deal is, sort of because Stanford is part of this ACC deal now, like how that, like, would Notre Dame play the 5 ACC schools plus Stanford? Because I've heard that, like, they would still keep Stanford on there, but it wouldn't be part of the ACC deal, that kind of thing. But, look, they used to play Boston College and Pittsburgh much more regularly as well, but those are now intermittent because they're part of the ACC. And, so they fell off like the core schedule, and they're just part of the ACC rotation. And I think that that's the same thing that should happen to Stanford. I'm sorry. Yep. I don't see them as a must-have on the schedule by any means.
Could not agree more. I tried to do a little bit of research on the trophies. Technically, I think there's 5 trophies. I don't see one for Navy. Not saying I don't believe you, because I always do.
I thought that maybe it was just that walking stick, that the shillelagh that they got out there. Maybe I was confusing it for
Ireland,
something else. Yeah.
So the shillelagh is the Purdue one. The megaphone is Michigan State. The Legends Trophy is Stanford. The jeweled
shillelagh is USC, right?
USC, and the Leahy Memorial Bowl is Boston College.
Okay. And so there's no trophy with Michigan, huh?
No, there's not. Of those 5, I mean, Stanford is a distant 5th, aren't they?
Yes.
I mean, good grief. So, and, Michigan, even though there's no trophy, I would still put them on the list, as much as I, don't like to use their name. I use their name in vain as much as possible. But.
I mean, look, Notre Dame, USC are still, part of like what people like a classic college football matchup. But obviously Notre Dame and Michigan, like, I think that more people nationally, like when they think of good, big national rivals, Notre Dame, Michigan obviously come to mind for a lot of people.
Yep.
And they're disappointed to see it off the schedule. So what's the first thing you think of when you think of Stanford football?
The stupid dancing tree. I know I should probably think of something more football related, like John Elway, or, the band is on the field, or something along
That's
those lines.
honestly the first thing I think of. The band is on the field from
Yeah,
the
that
Cal
was
Stanford game.
that
Yeah.
was before my time. Like, I know that it exists, but it wasn't a big deal to me because I didn't live it. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like,
And we're talking about 40 years ago at this point. So
right. I was very, very young at the time. I was gonna say I was in diapers, but I doubt it. I don't know, maybe. But anyway, I didn't live through it, so that one doesn't come to me obviously as much. And so the more recent Stanford stuff, like us Notre Dame not allowing the band to come to Notre Dame, and that dancing tree, and like
Mhm.
honestly, for me, when I think of Stanford, I think of Harbaugh. Like, that's what I think of when I think of Stanford football. I think of Harbaugh. I think of Shaw. That's Stanford football to me. And so it's different, I think, for a lot of other people because, like yourself, the band is on the field, John
Mhm.
Elway, all of the history that is Stanford football. I get that. But for me, it's more, I guess, the more recent stuff.
Yeah. I can see that. I mean, that's one that I not grew up with, but I think it was early teen at that point, like
Yeah.
when the band was on the field. But, again, like for the last 40 years, like every time the Cal Stanford game comes up, you're going to see the band is on the field and
Yep.
the whole,
Yep.
that whole thing. And that's why that's what I think. I think a little bit of Bill Walsh because he obviously
Yep.
was there for a
Sure.
little bit. And then, you're right, probably after that, like just in terms of recency, the Harbaugh Shaw era. And then,
Yeah.
and again, it's like that's why, I guess okay, maybe it benefits Notre Dame because like what is this Stanford program actually going to be going forward? Because like the Harbaugh Shaw years were the most successful era of Stanford
Ever.
football ever. Yeah. Is it
Yeah.
ever even going to be close to being like that again?
Like, if you said, "Hey, name a Stanford quarterback," I would say Andrew Luck first, and then I would probably say John Elway. Like, those are the two
Yeah. See, I
for
would go
me.
the reverse,
Right.
again, being a little bit older. I would say
And I
Elway then Luck. Yeah.
totally get that. So, like, that's more my recollection of who Stanford is, and like just their mouthy fans band. I'll say band.
Yes.
I don't really have any negative connotations towards
I was
the
going to say, like again, like if this is really a rivalry, when have you ever actually squared off with
right.
any, like any Stanford fans? It's like there's always even, around here, there's always some USC fan. There are plenty of USC fans who live in South Bend who you hear
Yeah.
from time to time.
Yes.
It's
100%.
not like that with Stanford. I have never encountered in the
Yes.
wild a Stanford football fan
Wild.
talking smack.
Well, like, have you ever seen? Okay, have you ever seen a Stanford fan jump into our chat and just start talking smack?
Very true. All
You
week
know what I
long.
mean?
Like who is oh, we're gonna kick your butt and it's
Never,
gonna be ugly. And yeah, that's right.
never. So that's how I judge my fan
We had
base.
Louisville fans jump in. We had
Did
Texas A&M fans jump in.
Ohio State,
Ohio State. Yeah.
Michigan,
Yeah.
all the teams that you would expect, right? Didn't see any Stanford fans in the chat this week, so just saying.
Fair point. Over under 300 total yards for Riley Leonard for the Cardinal against the Cardinal.
This is so hard for me. I do feel like he has an opportunity to do it. I'm thinking like 225 through the air, maybe 75 on the ground, like maybe that neighborhood. I think would be a really, really good day for Riley Leonard. And you throw in maybe 3 touchdowns total. And I don't care how they come, passing, running, doesn't matter. So I'm going to say over. I'm going to be optimistic, but I think this could be a good game with him going up against the 122nd ranked pass defense in the country.
Very
I mean,
true.
if you're not going to be able to get a few yards in this game, then when are you? I guess is a good question to ask. I don't want to say that because as soon as I say that, when he doesn't do that,
I
and we're in the
know.
post game show or
It
something,
blows up and you're going to hear about it. Yeah,
correct.
that's
Even
right.
though Notre Dame won by like 30 points, Riley Leonard didn't have a good day passing the game against the 122nd team in the country. I'm just saying, I think he probably should. But if he doesn't and they win by a lot, I don't care.
Do you let me ask you this: last year versus this year, do you
Okay.
did you look forward to the post game show last year, or did you dread it? Same question for this year. Is there more dread this year
Oh,
going into these shows, even though they're 4-1, than there was last year?
yes, there's more dread. Yes, 100%. This is what I'll say. The only ones I dreaded last year were obviously after the losses. I hate doing shows after losses,
Yeah.
more because I'm emotional about it too, and then I just want to fight with everybody, and it's never good.
Right.
But this year, and look, I'll say it. Like, what was it in the Louisville game when Riley Leonard goes down and Steve Angeli he came into the game. I'm like, oh, the post game show is going to be awful.
Here we go. All the
my,
Angeli lovers are gonna be out.
that was my instant take. As soon as he walked on the field, I'm like, oh God, don't lead them on 7 touchdown drives in a row. That was my immediate. So the dread is more real this year than it has been last year. Yes, no doubt.
I kind of had a feeling, but I was just curious.
But here's the key: I won't be on the post game show on Saturday.
Oh, you won't? I didn't realize that.
I will be up in Hillsdale, Michigan, with my son. So,
all right,
I'm tapping out.
Well, enjoy the trip. Enjoy the trip. Do you know who's going to be there? Is Brian going to be there since you're not, or will it be the other guys?
Brian will be there. I think Ryan will be there. I think, and Sean will be there. I believe Trevor. Somebody's not going to be there, and I can't remember who it is. I think it's Trevor, but I'm not 100% sure. It could be Ryan. It went in one ear and out the other since I'm not on it. But there will be a post-game show, so don't fret, my pet. It'll be okay. Not you, everybody listening.
I'm gonna go under the 300. Yeah. I think he's gonna be in the ballpark. I'm in the 270-ish. And I think that he's got a really good shot at finally getting his first 200-yard passing game of the season. And then, another 65, 70 rushing yards or something like that. Yeah. So I think he's going to be a little bit shy. The closest that he's come so far is 297 total yards against Miami in that game. So,
So
I'm going to go just under.
All right.
Stanford's run defense allowing 88.2 yards per game. Do you buy or sell Notre Dame having one player get to at least that many rushing yards against the Cardinal?
That's a big buy for me. I think somebody gets 100 yards in this game. So I just think they're going to pop off a big run. And then after that, it won't be very hard to get to the 88 or 89 in this case. I will buy this all day long.
They have Jadarian Price. Jeremiah Love has only hit that number on the ground twice this season. Jadarian Price has not hit that number this season, which seems amazing. When you look at the fact that he had a 70-yard run against Purdue, but he only had 86 yards in that game.
It's close.
But again, I just said, I don't think Riley Leonard's going to quite get there. He's done it twice. I've got to think they're going to have one guy get that number, because I just feel like, they are good against the run, and Leonard is going to have to show that, he can hit some passes to kind of loosen Stanford up a little bit. But I just feel like with the home run threats between Price and Love that Notre Dame has, one of those guys is going to get it. So I'm going to say yes.
All right. I can get on board with that.
Fill in the blank. The non-Notre Dame game you are most interested in this week is blank.
I'm trying to decide between the Ohio State-Oregon game, which is probably the answer here, or what was the other one?
Red River? Or
no.
Penn State USC.
I think it's Penn State USC. That I think is the other one that I'm very much interested in. LSU Mississippi is an interesting one as well. I think Ohio State Oregon. I don't know. I think we could have a couple more upsets this week, to be perfectly honest with you. I think it's going to be fun to watch.
Ooh, does that mean Vince is picking Oregon to win this game?
No, but I am picking USC to win the game.
Ooh, okay. All right. Vince is hot on USC. I mean, it's Ohio State, Oregon for me. I think that this is honestly one of the most anticipated games of the entire season. You know, kind of like when the season was started, the fact that you've got Oregon new to the Big Ten and you've got Ohio State going out there to the West Coast and just a huge primetime matchup. I am glad that it starts at 7:30, so I'll probably get it home right around halftime, maybe a little bit before halftime by the time our game's over with, and get some stuff done and be able to watch some of that tomorrow night while those other guys are doing the post-game show. But that's what I'm looking for. I was trying to find the start time. There it is. Wow, USC Penn State is a 3:30 kickoff. So it's kicking off at 12:30 local time in Los Angeles.
Yep.
That's kind of crazy. I wish that was a later kickoff, honestly, because I'd like to be able to watch that one.
I know, right?
As well.
Except the old record button.
Yeah. After watching Miami games the last 2 weeks, which do you think is true? ACC officials are favoring the Hurricanes, or ACC officials are just bad at their job?
I'm okay. I never want to say that officials are biased towards one team or the other, but I will absolutely say that they're not good officials. So I'm going to go with the latter and hope that there's no malice intent. You know what I mean? They just suck. They're just not.
They don't mean to be bad. They're bad.
They're just bad. Like, look,
Robert Saleh didn't mean to be a bad coach. He was just a bad coach.
Look, there is an officials shortage in this country.
Yep.
And it goes all the way to the top. So I just think they're bad.
And I think it's been more obvious in the last few years. Like when you look at how all of that has kind of contributed, because I mean, it starts with like the best officials at the high school level move up into the college ranks, the best from the college ranks move into the NFL. And like when you look at, like growing up, you used to be like when I would turn on it was like Ed Hockley on an NFL game all the time. And some of these other guys, like doing these NFL games, and like most of those veteran senior guys are all gone. And that means college guys have moved into that ranks. And so that just means it's filtered. And the fact that fewer people are becoming officials now, I think that, I think the NFL has continued to keep a much better standard because, they are constantly reviewing those guys and going over those things. And, I think their replay system is better and all that stuff. And, that's part of it as well. Especially it becomes obvious when you're watching games with an ACC officiating crew, is that there is still too much subjectivity that goes into replay reviews up in the booth. And it is supposed to be black and white. Either you see clear evidence to overturn a call or uphold a call, or you don't. And I think that they are allowing too much of their own judgment to come into play still in these replays. And so I completely agree with you. I think it is just bad, but there are contributing factors to why it's bad. Because I'm like you. Like, I don't buy into the conspiracy theories, but it sure does appear right now that the way these couple games have gone, again, like when you look at the replay, like that touchdown at the end of the Virginia Tech game, are you telling me that there's anything you saw clearly in that after 7 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it was that told you that you should overturn that call? There's nothing in that replay that said you could overturn that call.
Agreed.
Yet they did.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah. Okay, so I kept checking on the apps and have not been able to find any player props for this game. So we don't have much in a way.
As confused as we are.
I know. That's probably it. Notre Dame is favored by 23.5 points, and the over-under is 45.5. How comfortable are you with the 23.5 point spread?
I mean, the short answer is I'm not comfortable with it. That's over 3 touchdowns, obviously, for anybody that knows anything about math. I'm not comfortable with it. That's the best thing I can say. I am not comfortable with it. I'm trying to remember what my score prediction was.
I just double checked mine.
I need to look. Okay, let me do the math. 20, 25. Well, I've got them winning by 25, so
Okay.
I guess I'm good with the spread, Sean.
All right. I've got them winning by 21, so I am not. I am confident in the over, though, based on what I have. The over 45 and a half.
As am I. I am over the 45 and a half as well, so I will take the over.
And it's interesting. I had not looked at, because they also give like the point total over-unders for each team individually. And Notre Dame's is 34 and a half. Stanford's is 10 and a half. Do you have over or under the 34 and a half for
Over.
Notre Dame?
I have over.
I've got just under on that, but I've got over for Stanford on the 10 and a half.
Yeah, I do too. I have over for Stanford as well.
Do you want to go ahead and give your prediction then?
Might as well at this point. Everybody's probably waiting with anxious anticipation.
Oh, yes.
We're teasing people with what we're saying. I've got Notre Dame winning 38-13. I think they're going to be able to put some points on the board in this game, both on the ground and through the air. I think the 13 is not indicative of how well the defense plays. I think they might maybe throw a touchdown in maybe late against the second teamers, kind of the deal. I think, there's a chance that Notre Dame holds Stanford to a couple of field goals and then they get a late touchdown. That's how I got to 13. And, the 38 is a bit of a pull out of the air, but that's 5 touchdowns and a field goal. I think that's very possible in this game. And I think Notre Dame will control this game. I think they're the better football team. And I guess I got them clearing the spread of 23 and a half.
I'm curious to see, because we both kind of felt like they downshifted, and like they down throttled against Louisville a couple of weeks ago after they did get the lead. Like with some of their play calling and stuff like that, and just kind of the way they were doing things. And, it's like, I'd like to see them try to play a complete game, and like, that's what I want to see.
Yeah, right.
So like the 38, the only time so far Notre Dame has got to that number is the 66 that they put on Purdue a month ago at this point. But I've got them a little, like I said, I've got them at 34 points. So I've got them just a half point under. I didn't, again, I didn't know that Notre Dame's single over under was 34 and a half. I've got them winning 34-13. And I'm kind of like you, like, I think that the defense is going to be in really good shape. The biggest question is going to be, does Stanford hit a play or two here or there that, ultimately maybe puts them in field goal range and those kind of things? Do they get a junk touchdown at the end of the game? Because I do think it's the kind of game where Notre Dame should be able to score some points. But, like the 31 that they had last week or 2 weeks ago against Louisville was the best that they've done so far this year. But I just feel like this should set itself up for Notre Dame to have its most complete game of the season on both sides of the ball. Special teams, like that is still a question. I think, that's kind of something I'm going to be watching in this game. I think a lot of us are kind of focusing on that. Like that needs to be cleaned up. There are just a lot of things that need to be cleaned up on special teams right now.
Consistency is crucial. Consistency is crucial special teams wise, because they haven't. I don't think they've achieved consistency on special teams just yet.
Not at all. So you've got them 38-13. I've got them 34-13. We weren't too far off.
No,
we've been pretty close on a lot of our predictions, I think, this year.
You and I are right there, by the way, on the season of predictions. I don't know if you saw that.
I haven't seen the season total. I'm pretty sure I took a goose egg last week during the bye week.
You were 0-3. I don't know what I was, but I was
like every game. I'm like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? It's like I didn't pick a game right, I don't think.
You did not, and it allowed me to catch up. That's basically what happened.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to remember.
Crazy weekend.
Where
I was surprised. He didn't put the Cal Miami game on the list for us to pick last week.
That's a good point.
Because I honestly was working on a prediction for that, and then I looked at the list and I'm like, holy, he didn't even put that on the list. Like, that's one of the big matchups.
Brian's leading 17-5. Nick and I are 16-6, and then you are 15-7. And then Trevor and Andrew are tied with you at 15-7, and Joe is 13-5.
Man, after that rough week that I had last week. Okay.
Yep. So you're only 2 games back of the lead, but you're
we're all pretty close. We're all pretty close.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, that's going to do it. Enjoy the game. And of course, after the game, the post-game show right here on this channel. So be sure and find it. Vince and I think you're back with me on Monday, right?
As far as I know.
Okay. Back to the regular co-host schedule, I guess was my point. Okay. All right. So we will talk to you then. Enjoy the game. Looking like beautiful weather here this weekend. Might actually have to take the sunglasses back out to Notre Dame Stadium this week, or at least a hat, So, all right. Enjoy it. We'll talk to you Monday. Ivy Nation Sports Talk.